like, I'll hop on over to Facebook and see what's kicking. And I get over there at about 10 this morning, and I see a whole bunch of personal messages have come in. And it's a whole bunch of my devoted readers who have just told me how thrilled they are that they have received their copy of my new book, A Wonder to Behold. Well, I almost swallowed my coffee cup. I'm like, that's not possible. I'm working on the proof in my computer in firewalls between myself and my layout designer right now, because I really am meticulous, and I work very closely with my layout designer. Nobody gets to touch my work that my hands are not all over it. That's just how it is. And so, they're like, oh, no, Amazon sent us a notice, and the books were being printed, and all of our books are arriving, and, oh, this is so great. Yeah.
Wow.
So what happened was when my publisher put the book up for pre-order, the manuscript hadn't been laid out yet, or it was in the process. They had just started. So they put my last book with them, which I wrote with George Lopez in a Flickr, which is about blood and guts and gore and Jack the Ripper.
Oh, wow.
Nothing about extraterrestrials, okay? Well, just a smidge, just a little bit. But that's the manuscript that's inside the cover of A Wonder to Behold that's now being shipped all over the United States for everybody that pre-ordered the book.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
That is crazy.
I put up a post once I realized what had happened. Now, my publisher, which is Gatekeeper Press out of Columbus, Ohio, they're wonderful. They're just the best. They contacted Amazon sometime between 2 and 3 weeks ago and said, this book turned out to be bigger than we thought. We're not going to be ready for a December 24th release. Just change it to, we're going to push it back, and you can just put, TBA to be announced, or, push it back into January. And, when it goes up, and then nobody will care about the release date. It's okay. So all of that was supposed to be set. Well, none of it got done. It's the world's largest corporation. It didn't get done. So when December 24th rolled around, they started printing the books in a Flickr as the placeholder manuscript inside the cover of my book, while my publisher was laying out the actual text that goes in that cover. Now, this is, okay, so not the most auspicious launch for the work of my life. This book, it was like opening a vein. No kidding. I've got every major sighting I've ever had. It's just a very in-depth, really deeply emotional, deeply personal journey through my life as a contactee. So, needless to say, I was mortified. And so I put up a post on my fan page that I then shared on all my other pages. So hopefully everybody will see at some point. And it began with Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. Schwartz's Law. Murphy was an optimist.
Right.
And then I basically, abbreviated this long story that I just told you into a paragraph and put it out in the world. And, okay, this is what's happening in response to this. First of all, nobody's pissed off. You would think at least somebody would be, especially in today's climate. Everybody's mad about everything all the time. So you would figure somebody would be like, rah. Instead, this is what I got all day long. I'm not sending this back. This is a collector's item. They've already pulled it down off of the website. There's not going to be any more of these. There's only going to be as many as they printed that got shipped. And it's, however many it is, and it's probably no more than a few hundred. And so I'm keeping it. And when I see you at the next event, you can sign it for me. Then my response to that was, yeah, and then you'll go sell it on eBay for $1,000. No, I'm not signing that thing. So that therein lies one case in point, one example of how we can turn the darkness into light, the lemon into lemonade, because what other choice do we have? Nobody died. There wasn't any tragedy involved here. Amazon's going to make good on every single order. So it was their mistake and they know it, which is important. So nobody's holding it against me, which I deeply appreciate. And everybody's like, oh yeah, no, this is the most awesome collector's item. Oh my God, this is so great. Nobody, they would have to pry it out of my cold dead hands. So, that's how my day went today, after my head kind of blew off this morning, and I was totally mortified, because this is not how I wanted to launch my new book, something that I put my whole heart and soul into, and a true labor of love. This is not how I wanted it to go, and yet it did, so you deal with the reality that throws itself in your face on a day-to-day basis, I guess, is really what I'm saying. Okay, so that's my story. Now you can ask me ghost questions as much as you want.
Okay, well, we do have a lot of questions coming in the chat room. I'm sitting here. Teresa's working frantically to get everything put together. And first off, though, I have a message for you, Andrea. It's from Tracy and Susan Todd.
I love them with all my heart. Those people are salt of the earth. They have got the best.
Yes.
Talk about a serious, well-informed, extremely well-educated pair, and a group of people who are working in the paranormal field who have totally got their act together. That is Tracy and Susan and their group. Anybody that's in the panhandle of Florida that's really seriously interested in paranormal investigation and the research behind it should connect with them. It's Emerald Coast. Oh, God. Oh, shoot. Emerald Coast.
Paranormal Concepts.
I can't remember. There you go.
Yeah.
It's just Trey and Susan to me.
Yeah, we had a great pleasure to work with them. We went over to the Russ House, and
yes.
they are super, super people. We've had our group for a while, W.E.B.B Paranormal Group, but we learned so much from them guys, and I know they just went through a catastrophic time with
yes, they did,
with the storm and everything. I mean, we've had damage up here, but nothing like those guys have had. So my hats and prayers out to them, and they are in the chat room supporting as much as they can. And we just love them to death, too. So I did want to make sure that I mentioned them to you. And Tracy said he wished he was still doing the radio show with you. And
well, the future is wide open, my dear. I would love to have Tracy and Susan moderating the show. I would love to revisit A World Awakening with George. I would just prefer to be in the same room with him while we do it, so that when it comes time for me to punch his lights out, I'm actually within close proximity. George and I have this cerebral, and Tracy and Susan will vouch for everything I'm saying. George and I have this, we wrote in a Flickr together, which was, oh my God, 18 months of rip your hair out. I give George all the credit in the world for it. I mean, it's an absolutely brilliant concept. Nothing I would have ever come up with on my own. But George and I are polar opposites. We have a relationship. We love each other dearly, and yet our relationship is adversarial. And so it's really actually quite funny. And Tracy will attest to it, because he was always running the board when we were doing A World Awakening. And, behind the scenes, he's like, you kids need to break this up. We're scaring our guests away. We have George and I have this thing we do. It's like we know that we're both permanently in each other's lives. And so there's no getting away from that. And, kind of like till death do you part, except you're not married and you don't ever have to sleep together. And so we have
Sorry.
this, we live 90 minutes apart from each other in Florida. We see each other about once or twice a year. And we talk on the phone every other day. So it's we have a very, very strange relationship. And so Tracy knows, but George and I have been kicking around the idea of rekindling a world awakening since now we've had official disclosure from the Department of Defense regarding the UFO phenomenon. And there's also been some really serious advancements in our field dealing directly with spiritual activity, paranormal activity. So we've been kicking that idea around, and every now and then George will bring it up, and I'll be like, yeah, let me finish the screenplay first. Yeah, let me get my new book out. Yeah, okay, I'll think about that, in May. So that's where it is. Right now, I'll think about it in May. We'll see where we are in terms of films and everything else going on. But Tracy and Susan have been there through thick and thin with us.
Yes.
And with the radio show. And I love those two people dearly. And isn't the Russ house absolutely amazing?
Yes, it is. It is gorgeous,
yes.
for one thing.
Yes, it's gorgeous. It's in Marianna, Florida. Beautiful.
Yes, I tell people every day, I'm a butcher by trade. And I tell people, and of course, they'll come in my store and they'll ask me questions about the paranormal and so on and so forth. And I tell them that before they need to add to their bucket list the Russ house in Marianna, Florida. And I, tell them about Tracy and Susan Todd. They are wonderful people. And if you want to learn anything about the paranormal, those guys are the ones to teach you. And
they're seasoned. Even though this is not considered a professional field, I consider them and their group seasoned professionals. I consider that these are people are extremely knowledgeable as you can be in a field that it focuses on the unknown, quote unquote. But beyond that, it is their openness and their willingness to accept others into the fold, to teach what they know. These are not people that would ever hoard their evidence. You know what I mean? And there's just too much of that in this field. I've always said, and George has always agreed with me, which is always the safest thing to do, by the way, for him, is, if there was a single database that was a place where worldwide all the paranormal investigators could deposit their research and their evidence, the compilation of such, once vetted, once, proved to be authentic, not faked in any way. Once we had that, I think it would absolutely silence the skeptics of the world. There is no question. I've known since I was 12 years old that there is something beyond our mortal existence. I just turned 60 and I still can't tell you exactly what it is, but it is. And that's what matters.
Right.
Yes,
right.
I agree. I have one other person that wanted me to tell you hello, and that was Blaine Rohan.
Oh, Blaine, such a sweetheart. Oh, so sweet.
Blaine.
I have. Yeah. Hi, Blaine. Hi, sweetheart. Oh God, I have the best people. I do. It's so funny because my father, is a producer of television commercials and advertising and stuff like that. He's been into it for years and years. But he has to work out in the real world with real people, and he hates it. He just hates it. He's like, when are we going to make the movie so I don't have to do this anymore? Because I'm so sick to death of these people. They're so ignorant and they're so foul and they're so this and they're so that. When's our next event? I want to go where the happy people are. And when I get in front of, and I do these lectures in front of hundreds and thousands